We have in the studio today Marnie Schneider. She is a best-selling author of GameDay in the USA book series. Her grandfather, Leonard Toews, was once the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles and founded the Ronald McDonald House. Hey, Marnie, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Dana. How are you doing?
Great. Well, thank you for being on the Hello, My Name is Dana podcast. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for inviting me and asking me to join you.
It's all good. Now, I see you have the famous Fumble with you right now.
I do. Yes, Fumble the dog. Sweet like guy.
Just
I know. He's the star of the show. So
yes, he is.
Let me, share the ride, but we all know who's the real talent here.
Who's the real talent is Fumble. Well, I'm definitely going to be asking you questions regarding Fumble and your books and everything, but we're going to start first. I know you are a Philadelphia native. Your grandfather, Leonard, and I hope I'm pronouncing the last name correctly, Toews.
Perfect. Yes, thank you.
Leonard Toews. He was once the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. Oh, I like how you said Eagles, Dana, with a little bit of an I, not an E. A little bit. I hear that. I love it.
It's I people tell me sometimes, like, really, how are you supposed to say Eagles, right? And he also founded the Ronald McDonald House.
Yes, well, he did. My grandfather and a few other extraordinary people were the original founders and opened the very first Ronald McDonald House in the city of Philadelphia. But that does not happen without incredible people, incredible fans of Philadelphia. The whole entire city rallied together. And that's really what it takes to win. The whole city rallied together to do something really spectacular. Yeah. And I think my grandfather did incredible things as an owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. But I would probably say that I think the crown jewel in his accomplishments as owner certainly got the Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl. They didn't win it, but we got there, did amazing things. But I certainly think that, 47 years later, the Ronald McDonald House is growing strong, and there are houses all over the world, international, and it really is kind of the go-to family philanthropy. So I'm very proud of that.
Extraordinary. Like I said before, I kind of was doing a little bit of my research, and I know your mother, she was the first and only female GM for the NFL.
Yes, my mom. Thank you, Dana. I love my mom, and I are very, very close, and she is my mentor and my biggest cheerleader and my best friend. She's currently, unfortunately, suffering from dementia. So I have hopefully probably not nearly as elegant as she has ever been able to do it, but picked up the ball and run with it. And yes, my mom, Susan, is the first and only female to this day general manager, legal counsel, and vice president of a professional football team. So I'm very proud of my mom's accomplishments.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, she broke the glass ceiling for many women, today. And I was going to, how her influence on you has been. And I'm sure, it's...
Thank you. Well, my mom is an amazing woman. She's a real advocate for other women and super supportive. And I think that that's one of the things that I am very grateful for. She had many incredible talents, but I think that being somebody that was able to really lift up and embrace and support other females rather than, pushing them aside and saying, no, I'm the queen bee here. My mom did not do that. And so that's why, and to this day, it's very interesting. The Eagles as an organization is really female friendly. And I definitely know that happened from the 80s when my mom was running the team. There have been articles written about how the Eagles are really, truly at the forefront when it comes to women being in professional and high level titles and in professional sports. And I'm certain that started with my mom, being able to embrace smart women and encourage them. And now the franchise really has continued to do that. So I'm something also I'm very proud of.
Yeah, that's awesome that, that she, just like I said, an influence to so many, women. I'm sure back then, of course, there wasn't that many, of us doing, in major roles, I should say,
right.
Such as that. It's kind of off of here, but now you are an active with the NFL Alumni Association. Get me if I'm wrong, just
No. So I of course, the thing is, for me, football, like I've said, has given me so many opportunities. It's given me every single pretty much great thing in my life, from my grandfather teaching me about the great game of football and being able to travel all over with the team and learn from amazing coaches and incredible athletes and trainers and front office people. I was super, super, super fortunate. So that's something that I want to find ways to always give back. And that's certainly something really important to me that my family definitely, I think, encouraged me to find ways to give back. And so I try to do as much as I possibly can. So yes, the NFL alumni, the thing is, back in the old days, Dana, football players had two jobs sometimes. They might have had a job as a football player, but during the off season, they had other jobs, whether you're interviewing. I have a radio show that we record out of Dallas, Texas, and we've had some incredible guests on there, like Timmy Newsome and Drew Pearson, and they all talk about their summer jobs and how they, during the off season, they were still training because they were professional athletes, but they were doing other things that were going to help supplement their income because they were not getting these huge paychecks. But also finding ways to be involved with the NFL alumni really is something fun for me, because I get to kind of, I guess, a little bit relive some of the glory days. And who doesn't like to talk about, oh my gosh, Harold Carmichael and Will Montgomery and all those great old Eagles, like you would say. And of course, I'm very excited because Coach Dick Vermeil is getting inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame next week. Yeah. And that is something, and he's going in as an Eagle. And I am already starting to cry when I think about it, because I am such a fan of his and the amazing impact that he's had on so many people professionally and as a human being. People reach out to me and they say, can you send this letter to Coach? I never had a chance to thank him for picking up my tab at Wawa, or stopping into my mother's hospital room and giving her a thumbs up, or saying hey to my dad on the street. Like, it changed their lives. Like, just hearing and that's what I think professional athletes really do, is that without realizing it, by just acknowledging people, they can change lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that one thing about my podcast, it's celebrities, athletes, and people making a difference. And that's, one reason I wanted to reach out to you. I know that, like I said,
thank you. What a great list to be included in. So thank you.
It's a wide range, but I think that, a lot, like you just said, a lot of athletes and different people, what they do, and like yourself. I was going to ask you now, you are a founder of the Keep on Playing Foundation that gives underprivileged children the opportunity to learn and develop leadership.
Yes. So my mom, Susan, has a charity called A Level Playing Field. And what my mom did, and still again, my mom's health is unfortunately rapidly declining, but dementia is a team sport. So we have to pick up where we can and do whatever we can to. So my mom has a beautiful foundation called A Level Playing Field. And one of the offshoots of that was Keep on Playing, which we would help underserved communities get kids the opportunity to go to minor league baseball games, to experience live sporting events, and to really feel what that's like. Because that's something that is a really beautiful thing, when you can take kids to a game. And certainly, and I love minor league baseball, it really does provide so many great things. The excitement, I always say, like, where else can you go? Any sporting event, but certainly financially, it's very affordable to go to a minor league game, where you can go and you can kick and scream and yell and carry on, and you won't be let out in handcuffs. So that's good. You can go and cheer for your team and a lot of these teams, they offer incredible deals on food and family fun. And so it's great. So Keep on Playing is something that I'm really proud of. And we've, over the past couple of years, done some really cool things and been able to take lots of kids to different games in minor league communities and really expose them to the great game of baseball. Because for me, I love football. But again, I had this incredible opportunity when my grandfather owned the Philadelphia Eagles. At that time, the Eagles and the Phillies shared the same stadium. Yeah. So I'm an only child of a single working mother. So often in the summer, parents have to take their kids to work because they don't have childcare. And my mom didn't really have childcare. Her office happened to be a professional stadium. And however, during the football summertime, there was no food. There was nothing going on in that part of the stadium, but there was a lot going on the other side of the stadium. So I would wander off, and the Phillies were very nice to me, and they would give me a hot dog and a ticket, because oftentimes, during the day or sometimes even at night, or the stadiums are not completely filled with fans, so they would let me kind of tag along, and I got to watch the greats, whether it was Bob Boone or Mike Schmidt or Chuck McGraw, and I love baseball because of that.
Yeah, you got to kind of, it's funny because my brother, he lives in Austin, Texas area, and we went to the Round Rock double A.
Oh yeah, the Frisco, yeah.
Yeah. So like you just said, I mean, I've been to a lot of major league games. I have family members who actually, play or played baseball in there, but the minor league is fun. It's a lot of
they have a water ride at the Frisco Rough Riders.
Yeah.
They've really made it into such a great, fun, family, affordable thing. Professional sports are often not affordable to many, many, many people. And so I think that minor league baseball really is a great way to go to the game, experience the fun of it, where if you are a parent, I once took my youngest to a baseball game in San Diego when we were living out in California. And the game, he was young, 9 or 10, and the tickets were expensive. And it was just a mother-son date, and it went, 14 innings. And by the time I was like, we're not leaving this seat. We're going to sit here, and it's midnight, and I'm tired and exhausted. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, because you can't, you don't, when you pay those kind of prices, you're not leaving.
Yeah, you're getting the whole experience.
Right here. Yeah, exactly.
There's some other questions like that I want to ask a little bit later. Like, I got a little segment part that's a little fun segment. Since you're a Philadelphia person, it's going to pertain to Philly. But before I get there, you work at NFL Films for legendary filmmaker Steve Sable.
Yes.
Like I said, I also worked there for a little bit, but not when he was there, just, a few years back. What was that experience like? I mean, that's just like an historic, it's the history of it all.
Amazing. I was really fortunate, Dana. I could have probably been Quasimodo, and Steve and his dad, Ed, were going to have to bring me on to NFL Films. My grandfather was very close friends with Ed Sable. And then when I graduated from Penn State, I didn't know what I was going to do. And truthfully, right as I was heading off to college, that's when the Eagles were sold. So I was kind of like banking on going to work at the Eagles when I was in high school. And then the team got sold. So then I was kind of thinking, I'm like, well, now what? I went to Penn State and I studied journalism, and I enjoyed that, but I still was unsure, like many college kids leaving. And so my grandfather said, well, go work at NFL Films, which was such a huge luxury to be able to have that opportunity. So I went to work for Steve, and I really knew nothing, but Steve was an incredible teacher and an incredible mentor, and just to be around him and to be around the people that were working in NFL Films from day one. They've always been the leader of the pack when it comes to being visionaries of taking a product like football and then creating this brand around it. And they really did that. They really helped create so much. So Steve, when you would go into Steve's office, and behind him, he'd have a cork board and note cards all over the cork board with different things to put in the highlight film, and different sayings that he wanted to use and different music that he wanted to use. But he was really so on the forefront, such a visionary of putting music and football and making it beautiful, and then creating the football follies and miking up the players and doing these things so that we really felt connected to them. And we really wanted to embrace these guys doing things that no mortal can really do. And I think that having the opportunity to work for Steve, it really actually was something that gave me the courage in many ways to years later bring out Football Freddy and Fumble the Dog, something that my mother and I had worked on when I was a young girl traveling around. So I realized that there was a need. People have a desire, a voracious appetite for anything about sports. And if I can as a culture, engage young fans and kind of merge all that together. Through my experience, when I was a young girl, I thought we might have something, and sure enough, it seems to be something that's been very well received. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, that's a question. Definitely, I want to dive into the football, your book series. But before I get there, just a question now. Your grandfather, like I said earlier, opened the Ronald McDonald House in Philadelphia. You are with the Ronald McDonald House there in Charlotte.
Yes.
What's the work that you're doing with them and the whole? Just tell us a little about your father or your grandfather starting the Ronald McDonald House, and now you with it there in Charlotte.
Well, thank you, Dana. So I think for me, it's something that my family started something. Okay, great. And I talk about it and I leverage that and I've gotten a lot of mileage out of that. But I would be a fake and a phony if I did not roll up my sleeves and get involved in it. So it's really important for me to be a leader in the community where I live. I lived in Los Angeles for 20 something years, and I was involved with the Ronald McDonald House there and a bunch of other charities. And that was where we did a lot of Keep On Playing stuff and my mom's foundation, A Level Playing Field. And then we relocated a couple of years ago to the Charlotte area. And really, truly, the first thing I did when I got here, besides getting my kids settled and making sure they were okay, was to reach out to the Ronald McDonald House and say, oh, I'm here. I'd love to volunteer. I'd love to be a helper. Ronald McDonald House is really all about volunteers. That's how they really sustain this beautiful thing, is that their volunteer mission is very strong. So I volunteered there for a couple of years and then said, I'd love to be on your board. And I interviewed and I went through the whole process because I like to follow the rules. And so I did that. And thankfully they accepted me onto the board a couple of years ago. And then when it came time to doing some heavy fundraising like galas or big events, they had asked me if I would be helpful in working with them on their big fundraiser of the year. And so I said, of course, I would love to. That's a huge honor. So we rebranded the entire gala. It's now called Jerseys and Jewels, kind of as a throwback to the original days of football, getting the NFL involved, and jewels, because who doesn't like to wear jewels with their jersey?
Right.
And so it's great. So last year we had our first in-person Jerseys and Jewels, and we raised a ton of money and it was very successful. And then they graciously said, do you want to chair it again? And I was like, of course I want to chair it again. And so we are, embarking on year 2 of this in-person Jerseys and Jewels event. And that will be late October 29th at Bank of America Stadium.
Okay.
And so I'll send you the links to that.
Yes, definitely.
Available and sponsorships available. And it's just a really fun, great way to. The event is in a really cool space at Bank of America Stadium, and the Panthers have been great, and the NFL, they're great. They understand the mission of the Ronald McDonald House. What I would say to anybody who's stuck right now, and we all get in that space, the one thing, and that I tell my kids and I tell my friends and I tell myself, if you are stuck, roll up your sleeves and go do some charity work. It is the only thing that will unstick you. Obviously, if there's clinical issues, that's something different. But if you're just stuck, go do charity work. There's a bunch of charities that I'm really passionate about. I also am on the board here at the Charlotte Humane Society. I love pets. I love rescue. I love animals, dogs, cats. And the work that they do is incredible and extraordinary. So I'm really proud of what they do at the Humane Society. I also am very involved with the Soldiers to Sidelines charity, and Harrison Bernstein, who's the CEO of Soldiers to Sidelines. He's amazing. He works with former soldiers that are transitioning from being soldiers. I love our military. I'm very grateful for what they do. Thank goodness for the military. And he transitioned soldiers from being soldiers to being coaches, because it's a very similar thing. They get to be leaders because they have leadership skills, and teaches them a lot of things. And then the community where they're reaching out and they're going and doing coaching is very lucky to have them, because they've got great leadership skills and they're bringing their military background into these communities and educating youngsters, whatever it is, whether it's elementary school or whether it's flag football or baseball or all the way up to the college and pro level. It's really incredible what Harrison does with Soldiers to Sidelines. So
yeah, that's
three that are really important to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I interviewed Mike Thurtle a few weeks ago. He's the CEO of the Gary Sinise Foundation, and they do, for veterans and first responders, homes and different events like that. So I think all that type of work is amazing. Like what you're doing is amazing. Now, I want to get into your book series right now. And
Okay.
I'm looking at Fumble when I'm sitting here and he's looking all is he okay? It looks
Yeah,
like he's sleeping or something there, a little
yeah,
bit.
he's used to this. He's
Oh,
like,
okay.
all right, I'm gonna let this lady talk, and then we can go play, and I can get a ride. Right?
Yeah, he looks good. Okay, so tell us how you became an author, what inspired you in writing your writing career and this series. Now I'm getting this right. Freddie and Fumble, the Game Day in the USA.
Very good.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I've been
Yeah.
practicing on that.
No, that's great. Thank you. So, like I said, when I was a young girl and I was traveling around with my mom, I was in tow. What working parents, I was a latchkey child. They bring their kids places. If there's one or two kids, they bring them to work, and that's a great thing. I think I'm so thankful that I was able to kind of get around wherever it was. So my mother, because she was a single working mom, took me on the road with her. It just so happened to be that it was with a football team traveling around. But back in the old days, there were no iPads, no iPods. Well, I had a Walkman with a bunch of cassettes and a bag of batteries. And if that ran out, I was in trouble. So my mother would hand me a legal pad and a notebook and a pen and said, start writing. So Football Freddy and Fumble the Dog really started on a long plane ride back from San Diego one time when my Walkman ran out of batteries and I don't know what to do. And I probably had a school assignment to write a creative writing something. And so we started writing. My mom helped me. She was a teacher. I love teachers. Before becoming a lawyer and running the Eagle, she was a teacher and an entrepreneur. So she said, write and read. And those are the two best coping skills that you're going to get right now. So we started writing Football Freddy, traveling around, what it was like, seeing all these great, cool places. So, and a little bit of football, because I always think that sports really is the universal language. So we wrote the first book years ago. I had it in a drawer. In like 2016, my mom and I were looking for some things to do together. This was before she was diagnosed with dementia. And she said, let's take out that Football Freddy book. And I was like, oh, Mom, no one's going to want, that's just awful. But I am a hoarder, so I thankfully still had it. And I was like, I don't know about this. And, looked at it in some scraggly old notebook, which, I have somewhere, although I think my kids have now taken it and used it for their scrapbook. But took it out and I said, all right, well, let me see if we can play around with this. And we did, and then sent it to Mascot Books. And Naren Ariel, the owner and the publisher, I said, what do you think of this? And he's like, well, it's terrible, but there's an idea there. So he said, let's see what we can do. And we came up with Football Freddy and Fumble the Dog Game Day in Philadelphia, which was a little bit of what we, based on my kind of creative writing experiment. And so in Football Freddy and Fumble the Dog Game Day in Philadelphia, Freddy, who's me, and Fumble the Dog travel around the city of Philadelphia. And you get to see all the great sights there and then end up at the stadium to cheer on the team. So you see the Betsy Ross House and you see the Liberty Bell and the National Constitution Center, and then end up cheering on the home team. And of course they win. So that did really well. And it was really cool because that year when it came out, just hard to believe, 4.5 years ago, the Eagles kept winning. And so it was a miraculous gift. And so people wanted to buy the books, and we were doing a lot of book readings and donating a lot of books to the Ronald McDonald House, which was so much fun for me to get to go there and read my book to the kids and everybody. It was really fun. It went to Minneapolis when the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl and did a huge book giveaway and all that fun stuff. So after that, I was like, well, maybe we need to do another one. So we decided to do Football Freddy and Fumble the Dog Game Day in the Carolinas. But because I'm not from the Carolinas, we added in a young girl named Mary, who's based off one of my friend's daughter. And Freddie and Mary, because Mary knows the Carolinas, travel around the Carolinas. So you learn about the Carolinas. And then that really was a success. And then we added in Game Day in Atlanta and did another, based off of my friends' kids or my friends directly. So Freddie had a tour guide in each of these cities. And then I was just, right here, I've got Football Freddie and Fumble Game Day in Pittsburgh. Freddie's tour guide is a young man named Hugh. Hugh is my college roommate's son, and Hugh is autistic. But that has not stopped him from being an incredible tour guide in the city of Pittsburgh. So it's really cool because Freddie and Hugh travel all over the great city of Pittsburgh. And as we were saying before, first responders and the military and everything else, they play a huge part in my book. And every halftime ceremony is dedicated to acknowledging and thanking the first responders, the policemen, the firemen, military. And so that's something really important to me, that we acknowledge them, because without first responders, we cannot have a football game. So that's something that I really am excited about, being able to recognize and acknowledge first responders and others in all of our books, and also let them know that they really are important and important parts of the game, because without that, you can't have a game without first responders.
First responder, exactly. Now, what's coming up for your next book series? Are you continuing with this for different teams, or do you have another?
Oh, that's great. So right now we have 8 books. Game Day. So we have Philadelphia, the Carolinas, 2 states, 1 team. So it's South and North Carolina. Game Day in Atlanta, Game Day in Pittsburgh, Game Day in Chicago, Game Day in Green Bay, Game Day in Dallas, Fort Worth, which I know everybody in Philadelphia is like, I can't believe you actually did that. I cannot believe it.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I love Dallas, Fort Worth. It's a great community. That's what I love Philadelphia, but I love all these great cities and the fans. I love the fans. And that was really how the first Football Freddie came to be, is that wherever we were, I would always make new friends in different cities, because my mom would be working and I would be sitting in a hotel lobby or somewhere, and for somebody, and they were, people were nice to me. So I was really fortunate. So Game Day in Dallas, Fort Worth, which I'm really excited. I love that book. And then Game Day in Tampa Bay, which is great. And Game Day in Tampa Bay, Freddie's tour guide in Game Day in Tampa Bay is a young man named Frederico. So it's Freddie and Fred. And Frederico has cerebral palsy, and he also was living at the Ronald McDonald house. So that was a really cool thing for me to get to merge some of the things that I really love, which is the Ronald McDonald house, and of course, getting a chance to share my love of Tampa Bay and the great city that it is in football. And right now, Game Day in LA is about to come out. So we're really excited about that. And doing that, we'll get all 32 teams. It just takes a little bit of time.
Oh, yeah.
And then the big plan with Game Day is to do the other leagues. So we've got characters for baseball, Billy and Bunt the dog, and basketball, Bobby and Buzzer the dog, and soccer, Sammy and Score the dog. And so we'll make our way through all the leagues, and maybe even Formula One and NASCAR, and who knows, where sky's the limit.
I was just going to ask you, were you going to do any other sports, baseball or basketball, but you answered that. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Now this is, we're getting towards the end here, but I always have a segment that's kind of fun, a fun segment. But before I get to that part, now you were in The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore as Joyce, the flight attendant. And
correct. Yes, I am. Yes.
And also The Bachelor 1999, Chris O'Donnell,
Renee Zellweger. Yes.
As the Muslim bride. How did you get into acting, and how did you come about both of those roles?
Well, I was living in Los Angeles, and I thought, all right, well, if I'm here, if you can't beat them, join them, right? I was like, let me see what this acting thing is all about. And I was fortunate enough to be friendly with Adam Sandler, and I auditioned for the role, and I thankfully got the part of Joyce, the flight attendant, and it was lots of fun, and it's still a fun movie to watch, and I see it every once in a while whatever different channels, and my friends will take a picture of me. And last week I was actually on the plane, and I told the flight attendant I was getting off. I said, "Oh, I played a flight attendant in a movie," and she was like, "Which one?" And I said, "The Wedding Singer." She was like, "No way." And then apparently on BuzzFeed just recently that was one of, and I'll send you the link. I guess it was one of the best. There was whatever the category was, Dana, I have no idea, but it was like the funniest, best representation of a flight attendant, and I apparently am that person. So I don't know, but I love flight attendants and I love traveling. So I guess that I managed to represent them well. So I'm happy about that.
I think that's awesome. I was, I was like, like I said, when I was doing my research, and then I came across, I thought, oh man, that's pretty cool. That'll segue into the end here. Before we go, at the end of my interview a few weeks ago with former NFL player Marcus Ogden, I threw him a curveball question, and I asked him what his go-to karaoke song, and I'm going to ask you that. So think about it. But before I do that, I have a few other questions. When in Philly, is it Pat's or Geno's?
It's always Pat's all day, like they say in Philly, all day. I love Pat. The people there are great. Geno's is great too, but I'm fortunate enough to know the people that own Pat's, and they're amazing and they're so great and so generous. I love Pat's. Yeah. Double meat, double cheese. That's how I do it.
Right. There you go. The Link or the Vet?
Oh, I love the Vet. I know. I love the Vet. I love the Vet because of what it meant. The Veteran Stadium. It meant we were acknowledging our vets. The Link is great and it's beautiful and there's great, cool amenities there, but there's nothing like the Vet. I mean, it's just, again, representing our history. And I worry that we're going so far from some of the historical stuff that it's hard to remember that. So yeah, I like Soldier Field. I love Soldier Field. And I loved going to games at the Vet. And one of the highlights of my life was going to the Army Navy game at the Vet. My grandfather, he hosted that game many times because he owned the Eagles and he was an Army guy and served our country. And I think I've never seen him more proud than being able to host the game, the Army Navy game at Veteran Stadium. Was really I get goosebumps thinking about those games.
Yeah. I love watching the, back in the day, the Army Navy game at the Vet. I mean, it's just so historic and it's just, you're sitting in your living room, you're watching, you're all warm, but yet you look out there in the field and you feel the coldness of it all, the whole vibe, And
the Navy guys look so great in their pea coats.
Yes.
They're just so dynamic and it's so beautiful. And the whole presentation of it all. And it's our country, and we're like, wow, this is so cool, and seeing people really get excited about it. It's just one of the coolest things to watch the Army Navy game, whether you're there or whether you turn it on the TV. It's without a doubt one of the neatest things to watch. So I love the Vet for that. I love going to games at the Vet.
Okay, soft pretzel with or without mustard?
Oh, with mustard for sure.
Cool. Yep. And finally, your go-to karaoke song.
Probably there's two. There's McFadden and Whitehead, Ain't No Stopping Us Now.
Stopping Us Now, okay.
And then there might be like a little bit of Diana Ross, Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Okay.
You can pick up your hairbrush and sing.
Yeah, start singing, right.
And singing in the mirror, and it's but McFadden and Whitehead, Ain't No Stopping Us Now. That was the Eagles' motto. That was their fight song back in 1981 when they made it to the Super Bowl.
Philadelphia favorites. I have the Sounds of Philly in my my old CD catalog here. And,
TSOP.
Yeah. And I interviewed a guy who he's in Philly, has the apps for he's doing a lot of work with Philadelphia artists and stuff. Now, if people want to get more information about your book and any upcoming projects, how would they go about that?
Well, I'm pretty active on social media, so they can friend me. They can friend me on Facebook and Marnie Schneider, or they can go to Instagram, Marnie Schneider 1. Twitter, not so much, but occasionally, so they can go on Twitter. It's Marnie Schneider. They'll find. Oh, they'll figure it out. Or the best way, I guess, is to go to GameDayintheusa.com, and that's my website. And they can see all about what we're doing and the books and everything else, and follow along with us and send suggestions and let me know what they think of my books. And we're really proud. We're being added into school curriculum in a bunch of different school districts. Dallas Independent School District. We're working on a deal right now with Los Angeles, Las Virgenes schools, and so it's something that we realize that this is a great way to get kids reading and get kids also playing, and those are two great coping skills. So if kids can read and play, then they will definitely excel in many things. And we're really committed to those two missions. And also fans. We want to create a younger fan base for all these leagues, because that is something really important to us. Getting in it as a fan at a young age really makes you love the sport and enjoy what they're putting on the field. Because it takes a lot of people, men, women, family sacrifices, from the players to the ticket takers to the cheerleaders to the executives to the coaches to the whomever, the doctors. Everybody has to participate to get that product on the field. So we're really thankful for that.
Marnie, I want to thank you for being on the Hello, My Name is Dana podcast. Please keep us updated. Definitely want to have you back on. I'll have more Philadelphia questions for you, and I'll wear my either Eagles shirt or the Phillies, one of the two,
Well, I love the shirt that you're wearing, Temple. That's so Philly. And actually, I think, yes, I believe Matt Rule, who's the head coach of the Panthers, was the coach at Temple before coming to the Carolina Panthers. I think he was at Temple and then Baylor and then here. So you have to pass. Temple is, let's see, Hassan Reddick, who's now on the Eagles, he went to Temple. And that's great. I'm really excited to see him play. I'm a big fan of his. And I think that was Howie Roseman is a genius. I am a huge Howie Roseman fan. I think he's done an incredible job, and I'm really excited to see what they do this year.
I think they got an exciting team. I always joke with family members. I was like, I'm waiting for them to call me up and, let me help out if I can, just joking. But no, Marnie, I really appreciate you being on the Hello, My Name is Dana podcast. It's all the work that you've done and are doing, is amazing. And thank you, just thank you for your work and, the work that your family, has done is amazing. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you for asking. Thanks for including me. I really appreciate it. You are lovely, and thank you for being so gracious and prepared and everything else. So thank you. I thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit and get excited. And it's almost time for kickoff. So that's cool. That'll be great.
Well, that's it for this edition of the Hello, My Name is Dana podcast. Please contact us at dlcarter7575@gmail.com and listen to more exciting interviews on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or visit www.hellomynameisdana.com.